for emceeing the Level Up event here. I have a very special guest today. I myself am Sean Murphy. I'm the Vice President of Growth for the West for eXp Realty. My job is to grow the company. And what we're talking about during this Level Up event are people who have taken the shortcut, who have learned how to grow the company exponentially in a very short period of time, which takes a lot of the headaches and hard work out of it, but it's difficult nonetheless. I have Ramon Cassius here. Ramon is the owner and principal for Rock Real Estate Partners in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He is also the team leader and growth director for the agency by Tarek El Moussa. So tell us a little bit about your real estate business, your personal real estate business in Albuquerque, Ramon.
Yeah, well, thanks for the introduction, Sean. And I run a mega icon team here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We actually started this team my first year in real estate back in 2016, 17-ish. And we started off with just two of us. We have a team of over 50 now, one of the top 5 teams in the state, and then largest EXP team in the state of New Mexico. So we're extremely happy with the growth that we've been able to have with EXP.
So you're up to 50 people. Now the question and why we're all here, what is your relationship with the agency? Obviously, Tarek almost has the most popular show on HGTV, Flip or Flop. He is hugely popular where I come from. I lived in the city right next to him in Anaheim, and he grew up in Boyda Park. So I used to always watch the show saying, hey, look, hometown boy does good. But so what's your relationship with the agency there?
Yeah, so I was an independent broker owner actually before we moved over to EXP. And so our team was around the 40, 50 mark then. And when I came to EXP, I was introduced to Brian Colhane. I had known him from some years prior. Actually, I met Brian in 2017 or 18, and he played the long game with me. And then 3 years later, I was calling him. He introduced me to Tarek. And, we just had a lot of synergy, a lot of the same ideas in terms of what we could do at EXP. He had actually just joined in February, and I was coming in around the August, September time of 2020. So, there's a lot of reasons why I ended up working with Tarek, but number one is because the guy has fire in his eyes, and he has that passion where he wants to go big. He understands the model like I do. And yeah, we just had a lot of similarities in terms of how we view real estate and what we wanted to accomplish. So now what I do is I'm one of the coaches. I'm one of the people doing training every week and facilitating the growth of our agents, not only in New Mexico, but all over the country. Everything from your brand new agents coming on with EXP, your team leaders, and then people who are just strictly growing revenue share organizations. So
you didn't necessarily use your transactional volume to attract Tarek. Well, you did. You used your organization to attract Tarek, even though he was here first. Did you guys have this arrangement that before he came on to EXP that you were going to work together?
No. Nope. I came over as another agent, and I think what I ultimately realized early on was that I wanted to grow out of New Mexico. That's been my goal. I mean, it's all, even when we first started, we always knew we wanted to go bigger than just our own state. And so when I first came on to EXP and I met with Tarek, everything was cool. We talked about what we're going to do together, but I was really thinking a little too small, I think. And what I very soon realized that Tarek's brand it's insane, the brand power he's built. And so I soon realized that, I can try to do my own thing. I can try to use Rock Real Estate Partners everywhere, right? But if I team up and I collaborate with someone who's already built a worldwide brand, could I get there much faster? And, more of an ego check on my end than anything else. And I started having those discussions that, hey, I want to play a more significant role. I want to take on more. I want to take this further. I have the energy, resources, and previous experience. So that's kind of where we ended up gelling probably in December, November of 2020. We really had those conversations going, and we hit the ground running 2021.
So how big is your organization right now? I mean, you're relatively new to the...
Yeah, so we're inching up on the 185 mark right now. And then that's in about really a year. I mean, by the time we got done with our transition, I mean, remember we transitioned 50 agents with, I think we had 90 escrows at the time. So we finally got going back in like November, December of 2020. And then here's the thing that I think this is important for everyone to realize is that as long as you try and you keep learning about the business model and keep trying new things, you get smarter. I'm 10 times smarter about EXP and what we do now than I was this time last year. So it's like, as we're getting better, it becomes easier to build organizations. It becomes easier to have the right conversation. So, and Tarek's organization, I think, is sitting around the 600 or 700 mark now. And we took it from, I think it was about sitting around 200 or so. And then we took it up to the 700 mark in about a year.
Now, if you're at 700 in about a year and he came in December and he really, I know I tracked your numbers and I didn't really have time to look at Tarek's. There wasn't really a loss of business during the transition. Your transactional volume didn't fall off during the transition. You were very careful with that. What were you focused on? I mean, now to build 700, 800 people in your total combined organization, who do you focus on there? Do you go after agent by agent?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think,
you look at team leaders, right?
Yeah, I mean, I look at guys like me. I'm like, hey, if I would bring in, not in an arrogant sort of way, but people who are team leaders and running brokerages. I mean, if I would have found me, if I just found 10 of me, right, this year, if I could find 10 Ramones in terms of what an organization looked like and their drive to go forward, I mean, how much easier would that be to grow a massive organization? So I've gone through a few iterations of theories and how I think I want to go about this, and we've changed our approach. But there's two things that I think are really important. Number one, team leaders, because they already know how to train, recruit, and they know how to sell, right? And selling, most important, and teaching others to sell, that's the most important thing. So they already know how to do that. The other side of this is that I think that going deep in those markets where you have leadership, like, for example, we have a heavy influence in, obviously, in the Orange County area, Texas, Colorado, Washington, some areas of Florida. So I think that you want to look at people who not only are in the team leader space, but also are willing to reinvest into their local market, because I believe in going deep before you go wide. And those are the two things I look at. People who want to grow EXP in their local market and that have the infrastructure and already have the pre-existing knowledge.
So do you bring in Tarek when you are looking at these potential organizations? Do you use that kind of recognition, or do you just go to the team leader and do the presentation yourself?
Well, it's obviously there is a big aspect of recognition, and Tarek, he does always wants to know about the agents. He's constantly asking me questions. What can we do more of? So he is definitely involved. And however, he's only one guy and he does a lot of things. And so what I really try not to do is ever set false expectations with agents. And I believe that being the best servant in terms of onboarding, transition, and overall guide and EXP on how to leverage the model as a whole, I believe that's the best thing any sponsor could ever do. And then it's an afterthought. Oh, by the way, here are some of the other things that you get with our organization, but I don't like to put that first. Yeah. EXP, one team, one dream, right? That's what we have to focus on. And then, if Tarek wants to be a part of that conversation or has some other ideas with that person's particular line of business or what the organization's already doing, he comes in for those things.
Now, I know you focus on team leaders. Do you help the team leader present to their organization when you're trying to bring over a team or organization or brokerage, or do you just instruct the team leader on doing it? Or are you there with them?
We make it available, but I actually find that most team leaders want to gather the information themselves, and they want to be the ones to kind of guide the ship as they go forward. I mean, that's what we did. And so, yeah, I mean, we see it a couple different ways, but for the most part, if anything, we speak with, the number one and number two, number three of the company or the organization, but we don't usually talk to everybody about the opportunity at any point.
Well, I know that when people come to EXP, if they're not trained, in EXP, like you said, you're 10 times smarter. You've had to absorb an amount of information that people would truly be boggled at. So when they come over, they sell real estate. And if you leave them to their own devices, say, welcome to EXP, we're a great economic model for your transactional business, they'll just continue to sell real estate. What kind of training do you offer as the head of the organization's training and the leader of the training? What kind of programs do you have for the newer agents, the older agents?
Yeah, definitely. Well, luckily, it's not just me and the other leaders within the agency, Haas Pratt, and especially Lisa Copeland. Those two play pivotal roles in the training for the agents because we all come from different backgrounds. Lisa is a sales machine. I mean, she could sell anything to anybody. Haas Pratt was a real estate coach prior, and I've grown an independent brokerage. So we have different, I shouldn't say he was prior, he's still a real estate coach, but that was what he was really known for. And so when you bring all those together, we like to go, of course, the sales route. Now, having influence with Tarek and his organization, his business partner, Josh, is great about the marketing and branding aspect because that's really where Tarek shines. But we also like to play a lot towards teaching people who want to start utilizing the financial model of revenue share, who want to start doing that. How do you start? Because it's so easy to say, oh, just go talk to people and tell, like, we know to do that. But like, what are the actual steps, the conversations, the proper ways to go about having those conversations and not having to quit your day job? Because most agents, their primary income is from sales. So to tell you to go switch from sales or even 50% now doing revenue share, you're going to see a massive drop in income, which isn't the best thing for the agent. We want to teach someone how to tweak their business model to put these new revenue producing activities regarding revenue share as a part of their day-to-day.
Totally understand. So you do have like set programs to teach them about the revenue share, but about the proper marketing technique to bring agents. And I know you like to focus on larger teams, larger organizations, to bring those over. It's not a one day thing. It's not, hey, come to EXP. There's a set program for it that we've talked about. More importantly, they want to hear from people of influence.
We do it weekly. And we do it weekly, right? So this isn't a, hey, once a month, we'll talk to you. We do this every single week. And the other thing about that, I think that's important to note is, while yes, I do focus on, obviously if team leaders and, those types of individuals that want, of course I focus on those conversations, but I think that this is also a retention game. While it's an attraction game, it's a retention game. So I'm also looking at how can I take this organization in Colorado Springs who has 15 agents on their team. How can I figure out, well, they want to go to 30 and they want to grow a revenue share of 500. What can I do to facilitate that growth? So having a good mix on where your focus is, yes, of course, incoming is always important, but also what are you doing for the people who have already vested in your vision, who are already vested in EXP? That's just as important as new talent, in my opinion.
Yeah, like they say, help 1 million people get $1 million. So
there you go. Yeah.
You're focused on the downline. So once they're on board, you have weekly training programs for them. Does the name brand? I mean, I've been to your website and it says the agency, it says Rock Real Estate. Does the name brand just bring them in? Is that the walk-in? Is that the storefront? Does that help just bring them in? Come on, you're going to join us just because of Tarek's, national recognition.
If only it was that easy. Now, don't get me wrong. It makes the conversations very easy to have. However, when you get down to it, we always want to find, regardless of that, the flash and the marketing and the affiliation, right? All those things are super important. But at the end of the day, we have to always focus on that agent's individual situation. And could we make this better for you, whatever it is you're trying to do by joining EXP? But it does make getting into that conversation a little bit easier, to answer your question.
I know every organization, every team has a value proposition. And from what I've heard, yours is the strategy of building your organization from the ground up. Tell us a little bit about your strategies in helping the teams below you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think number one is something I've had to work a lot on, and it's nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. It's a Theodore Roosevelt quote. And at the end of the day, like I hear the words all the time, attraction. I hear the words revenue share. Here, all the different, you could have X amount of people in your organization, which is all great. But at the end of the day, they are people with real needs, real businesses, real families, right? With real dreams, and making sure that we take that personalized approach when necessary, and that we look at it more than just a numbers game, but it's a people game. So like going back to what you're saying, the more you help people in general, the more you help people with you in your organization, the more success you're going to have. So while yes, there is a strategy to the attraction portion, there are actions, activities, and things you need to be doing. It's also really making sure that you're not overlooking that this is a people business. So that's number one for sure. And then number two is consistency. And I know it sounds super like, oh yeah, of course, be consistent. But I remember starting a brokerage when I was 24, 23, 24.
So you're like 3 years older than Tarek when he started selling real estate.
Yeah. So you're the youngest qualifying broker in New Mexico. And you're like, all right, guys, come join my awesome team and my awesome brokerage. And then nobody joins. So you have to get really good at presenting your value proposition. You have to have no holes in your game when you're 24 recruiting agency or brokerage. So what I've learned over time is that like if there's one thing that I can hang my hat on that people will say is the guy just won't give up. Like you can have don't get me wrong, I go through all the same things everyone else goes through. But it's just knowing that if you just keep doing it, stay consistent, don't give up. That is where I really want to teach that to our agents. I can't tell you how many agents, like I had some the other day. I was trying to recruit them before I was with EXP. 2019, I was recruiting this person. They ghosted me, right? You guys know what that means. It means they stop answering your call. They stop returning your text messages. And they call me a week later because they just see the consistency. They called me a week before this call saying, hey, you know what? I'm looking for other opportunities. I just see you keep doing great things. Like I want to know what you're up to now. And I'm really interested in joining your team. But it's because the consistency of, I didn't stop texting. I didn't stop calling that person. I just stayed consistent. And so like, I know now after going through that exercise, building an independent brokerage for 3 years, I know it's the same exact thing here. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to have the secret magic potion. You don't got to be the best looking. You just have to keep doing it every single day, day in and day out. And I think that that's ultimately how great companies are built is people who stay consistent, stick with the plan, and don't give up.
Make the same hamburger over and over and over again, the same way 4 billion times. We hear that all the time. Okay, we were talking about long-term versus short-term strategy. Long-term strategy. You set your business up for a correction in the market? Are you looking at what do you do if the change, things don't sell overnight? I mean, have you set your business up for that? Have you looked at your recruiting and how you bring them on when things aren't this glorious and 7-day escrows? And
you bring up a great point that my business partner and I talk about almost on a weekly basis, is that we have been in real estate since 2016. And it's not that long, right? Barely 5 years. And we've only seen this. Now,
huge sellers market. Nobody that was in the business before 2007 knows anything about buyer's market. They've never seen one.
So yeah. So we saw in our market, we're a little bit behind the trends. So like I did see when it was a buyer's market, it was like you get a buyer and it's like, all right, take your pick. Oh, you like that one? Let's offer 30 grand off the price. See what happens. Yeah. I saw that only for a couple of years though. Then after that, I started really climbing. But we talk about this all the time. And luckily, part of EXP I think is so valuable. And just relationships in general is I have some great mentors in my life who have coached me literally from day one on don't be stupid with your money. Real estate, it's cyclical. So teaching me about vertical integration. Like for example, we have a phenomenal business partner where we own one of the fastest growing independent insurance firms in New Mexico right now. And so we're also making sure we're diversifying. That's in our same wheelhouse of things that we're already doing, like real estate. But then we're also making sure from a financial point of view that we're being super conservative during these times. Like, yes, we're dumping a lot of money into our organization. Yes, we're growing. Yes, we're bringing on new agents, but consistently, can you do that through up and down markets? And we're making sure that as agents and as business owners, we're being fiscally responsible.
So what's next for, let's start out with Rock. What's next for Rock Real Estate in Albuquerque, New Mexico and beyond now?
Sure. Well, I'd love to be, let me say this. I think that Rock Real Estate Partners, it's a company that we started, and it was all about the hustle. Like, because that's all we knew how to do. We're like, well, I don't even know how to sell real estate, but I'll tell you what, we'll be there 24/7. That's one of our
harder, not smarter.
That's it. Yeah. So, but now we're getting to a point where, our size is growing, and I want to be and make sure that we're the best influence of a team that we could possibly be for EXP New Mexico in general. I think that there's so much opportunity in New Mexico right now. The market is on fire, just like many markets across the country. But I'd like to take Rock and continuously, I've done this a few times. I've blown up businesses because we grew too fast. I did that with a property management company once. I want to make sure our growth is steady and it's done the right way, and we continue to offer the great service and great value proposition to agents. I don't have a number in mind. I don't have a volume count. I mean, obviously we want to keep doing more and more over the years, but if we can be a great trampoline, a great catalyst for agents to go have great careers and go on to be ultra successful in real estate, if we can be that first pivotal experience for them that got them to that next level, that's what I love our company to be long-term for agents.
Now, for the agency, what's the future there? I know Tarek's, he's crushing it. I mean, it's weird. He's based out of Austin. He's focused in Southern California. His team leader is in Albuquerque. I mean, he's all over the place. But what's next for the agency?
So I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but I do know that, like Lisa and Haas, they are, the whole organization from Brian, it's just everyone's in go mode right now. Yep. And I do know that I think organization will be key. We've been having some great conversations about how can we over deliver to our agents that come into this organization on a week, not a monthly basis, not a yearly, on a weekly basis. How can we over deliver? And I think organization is going to be key. But I really do believe that the next step in the next iteration of the next couple of years is looking at how we can be more impactful in markets. So you don't need the most markets, but how can you be most impactful in the markets you're in? And I think live events is huge. I think building community around EXP in general, like we're all virtual, but people crave to meet with other people in person. They crave the human interaction. I'd like to do more of that in the markets that we're already significant in.
I mean, EXP, we realize big decisions are made at big events. We bring our teams to EXP Con, Shareholder Summit, Build, Scottsdale, Cabo, regional rallies, and the influencers like yourself are always holding an event. So I suggest you go to any event that a major influencer is having that they'll let you attend, because I think that it's that EXP togetherness that really sells this company. EXP is growing at a rate I've never seen before. I've been on a couple rocket ships in my life, but last year, this exact same time, 27,000 people at EXP. That's it. We're at 67,000 people right now, 128% growth in 1 year. If we didn't add one more recruiting agent, we'll be at 150,000, same exact time next year. If we stay on the exact same recruiting level and don't even count in an exponential growth of recruiting. So everybody's saying, oh, I'm not in on the ground floor. And you came here less than a year ago and you're so on the ground floor, it's crazy. I tell people all the time, and not in a false scarcity way, but the framework of the next massive real estate conglomerate is getting laid right now. And you get the chance to put your hand in the concrete
right? And put your initials on it like that. You get that opportunity in real life right now, and it's not to be taken for granted. And I think that, like you said, you made a very important point. And I know we kind of chit-chatted about this previously, was, not creating silos within the organization. Like when we talk about the agency, I don't want that to sound like, oh, we're doing some exclusive things that nobody else can have a part of. I think that will actually stall the growth of the company if organizations continuously do that. I understand also from a competitive standpoint. Hold on one sec here.
That's okay. So when we were talking, we were really focused on everybody using everybody, EXP sharing its assets with other groups, with other teams.
Yeah. And I think that, that's going to be how we come together as agents, because what happens is you just create this super collaborative environment where it doesn't really matter who you came in under or how, like that. Those types of politics are going to stall growth. And I think that, I know, like Brent, I had this conversation with Brent Gove. I mean, he sees it so clear that it's one team, one dream. And I think that the more that the leaders of the organization get on that same page, I think that the growth that EXP is going to have is going to be tremendous in the next 12 to 18 months.
I personally think that the growth opportunity in the United States is huge. There's 1.44 million agents in the United States and 137,000 in Canada, which is part of the North American continent. We're at about 5% of that. So if anybody knows anything about an adoption curve, it's really when you hit 10% that it goes like this, goes straight up and down. It was iPhone. iPhone was not beating BlackBerry or Samsung until they got to 10%. And then they immediately went to 50%. It was crazy. Same thing, adoption of Facebook, adoption of Tesla. Tesla hits 10%. Probably gasoline cars could just hang it up. So we're at that 5% mark. We're seeing growth outside the United States. The last month, 3%. This month, 11%. It's crazy. India, Mexico, Brazil, Spain, just insane amounts of people who love the model. They get to share in the exact same model we get to share in. So picture a model where you're sharing revenue, you're sharing, stock awards, you're sharing a culture of building in India, in Portugal, in Puerto Rico, in Dominican Republic, which I heard is coming, in Japan. They're working on this is stuff they've never even heard of.
Oh yeah,
this is like landmark for that country.
Well, it's also setting the precedent. It's also setting the precedent on allowing agents to earn what they're really worth. I think that's where when I look at, I always tell people, look at the two models. Let's just call model A and model B. Let's take the logos and the brand affiliations and the emotional attachment out of the game for a sec. I just want to explain two of them to you, right? And I explain the traditional brokerage independent contractor model. Then you explain EXP. Obviously don't use the word EXP, just explain the two models. And I say, what would you do?
Yep.
And I think that's where I think now what we're going to see, speaking of competition, is we're going to see the value propositions of major companies begin to change because they realize that it's a no-brainer to be with EXP Realty. It's a no-brainer.
Well, I have to thank you, Ramon. Based on the achievements that you guys have made in just 9 months, there's no way you're not going to be standing on top, standing on stage, being one of the leaders of this company. So I look forward to that. I want to thank everybody for checking us out. And we're going to send it back to Curtis Dixon, who is the head of EXP University and being a great MC. Everybody have a fantastic day. And if you really want to know about Rock Real Estate and the agency, give Ramon a call. Blow up his phone.
Right
Thank
on,
you, guys.
Thanks, man.